game. It's one of those games that I do the lion's share of the new games coming out. Kind of pulls me back in. But since I wasn't talking to anybody the last time, I thought maybe per set. So today we're going to take a look at my version of the Natalia's build. Rocking in my inventory as far as what I've got equipped and my skills. So obviously we're going to be rocking the Natalia's build. Everything but the Slayer, which is the one-hand weapon. And you'll see there the 2-set reduces the cooldown of Rain of Vengeance. The 4-set increases Rain of Vengeance by 100%. And the full set, you get an extra 3,500% increased damage and damage reduction while the Rain of Vengeance has been cast for 10 seconds. For the skills, obviously Rain of Vengeance is the #1 damage dealer here. I have the Crashing Rain item, which increases the damage dealt by your Rain of Vengeance. Sends down like a single beast that deals almost 4,000% weapon damage. And if you cube it in the Kanai's cube, and I'll show you where that's at here in a second, you'll actually get the full 4,000 from that. So that's something you can think about doing. The build is pretty malleable. You guys can mess with it. I'm just going to show you how I have mine set up. So we've got the Crashing Rain there for the Crashing Beast effect. The Ring of the Zodiac. When we get into the skills, I'll show you what I have cubed. A lot of people like to go with the Dawn in the weapons cube. I went with the Calamity, and I'll show you guys why. But to help reduce the cooldown on the Vengeance skill when we get there, this is what's going to help me do that. So you get reduces the remaining cooldown of one of your skills by 1 second when you hit with a resource spending attack. And Vela's Bequest in my offhand gives me Strafe Projectiles Pierce, on top of a whole bunch of other stuff that I've added in there. The Kmar 10 clip gives me the Drifting Shadow rune for Strafe, so it allows me to run 2 runes on the Strafe skill. And I'll show you where that's at here in a second. Mantle of Channeling is a must since Nats doesn't have a shoulder piece. This one will actually increase the damage you do with channeling skills, and for this build, our channel skill is going to be the Strafe attack. Usually, you'll see people run a Traveler's deal here, the Compass Rose and the Traveler's Pledge, which gives you a defensive bonus if you're moving and an offensive bonus if you're standing still. But since this is a very mobile build, it's not really going to help us at all. So I have Hellfire Amulet here, and while it's not the best, it gives me an extra passive, which is the archery passive, and I'll show you that here in a second. The Nemesis Bracers, this is rather, you guys can throw in whatever you want. The plus side to the Nemesis is when you're doing your greater rifts, anytime you hit a pylon or a shrine, it automatically spawns an elite enemy, and so that gives you the orbs you need to complete through the greater rifts to get through it at a faster pace. Okay, so to the skills, Rain of Vengeance, obviously. You can run pretty much anything you want as far as your runes here. I like the Dark Cloud. I like that it follows enemies around, so that's pretty much the only reason I stick with that. So Strafe is our main attack. It's really the bread and butter of this deal. It's really heavy on the source consumption, and so I'll show you how I mitigate that here in a second. And then my rune is the Icy Trail, because we have a passive that increases damage whenever we chill enemies. Vengeance is your damage buff. I mean, every class basically has a version of this. I have the Side Cannon skill on there to add a little extra damage and to give me some health regen per attack. So Shadow Power, put that on. So Shadow Power, it procs with the Elusive Ring, that I have here in my cube. So anytime I cast Shadow Power, I get a 60% damage reduction. And then on top of that, it'll double the life per hit that I did. So the companion, we have it on the Wolf Companion. When you hit the circle button, which I have it assigned to, you'll hear your wolf howl, and that'll give you an extra 50% damage for 10 seconds. Otherwise, the wolf just runs around and attacks random enemies for you. Marked for Death is a damage buff. So anytime you have a marked enemy, you get an additional 15% damage there for 30 seconds. But the rune that I have, the Immortal Enemy there, is part of the resource cost mitigation that I was talking about earlier. So anytime you hit a marked enemy, you generate 4 hatred. Going down to the cube, I have the Calamity. Now this works with my mark of death because anybody that I hit is instantly marked for death. So basically anybody that I hit then is going to start regenerating my resource, which keeps the resource high and allows me to just strafe and strafe and strafe and strafe and strafe. The Hexing Pants of Mr. Yan is my armor cube. It increases resource generation and damage while I'm moving. So that's a 25% increased damage there. I get a nearly 25% increased damage from the Mantle of Channeling on my shoulder when I'm strafing. So it's about as good as you can get there. You just don't want to be standing still with that particular set. And then in my passives, I have the Thrill of the Hunt, which anybody hit by my hatred spenders are slowed. I have the Blood Vengeance, which increases my maximum hatred and then allows me to gain hatred back for every health globe that I pick up. Call the Weak increases the damage against slowed or chilled enemies, which procs both on the strafe. And then I have the Ambush, which deals an additional 40% damage to enemies, about 75% health there. For the jewelry slots, when you have slots, sometimes you have to go into the jewelry lady and switch a different bonus there for a slot if it doesn't come with it already. But we have the Bane of the Stricken, which increases the amount of damage that I do per attack by basically 1%. The Taeguk, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, gives me a nearly 4% damage increase for 1.5 seconds when I spend resource, and that stacks up to 10 times. So basically a 40% increase in damage there as long as I'm strafing. And then Bane of the Trapped, anytime I put a control effect, which is the slow or the chill, from those other effects, I gain another 24% increase in damage. And at rank 30, the stone there actually slows down enemies within a 15-yard radius of me. Cool. So we're gonna roll through a couple of bounties real quick, and then I'll do a Greater Rift. I do have to say that out of all the builds I have, this is the weakest. So we won't be able to do a particularly high Greater Rift. Yay, it's close.
Not ready yet.
So you can already see the benefits of the mobility. Nothing's really going to slow me down here. I can evade most things. And then really, once you get into the fight, you just want to lead off with the Rain of Vengeance, which is on my X button, and then you just want to hold that button down. So when it cools down, so we hit the Rain of Vengeance, and then we just start strafing, and then while I'm holding down the X button, every time the Rain of Vengeance cools down, it'll automatically launch. And then the whole time it's active, or at least for the 10 seconds after I activate it, I'm getting a 35 to 20% increase in my damage.
You must be the hero.
And I guess that was it.
Returning to town.
So we'll go back to town real quick, we'll run another bounty, and then I'll jump into a Greater Rift. I think I should be able to handle like maybe a 60 or something like that. So again, you start with the Rain of Vengeance and then start strafing. And basically all you have to do is hold those buttons down.
I grow weak.
You feel like you're in danger, you just trap the Shadow Power. And if you need that extra oomph, you can always turn on the Vengeance.
Need more time.
notice that my resource generation is pretty manageable. I'm not going to run super low unless I get to like just 1 or 2 enemies left. And we got a set ring for my trouble. Don't forget, you also have the aiming skill. I have it attached to the circle button, and that's for a 50% increase in damages in your time. It's available.
Not ready yet. You filth! Need more time. I need to go back.
Alright, so we're going to run a Greater Rift, and then that will be it as far as this build. Again, this is one of my weaker builds. Pretty sure I can take a 60 though.
Many Nephilim have stood where you are now, but few succeeded in overcoming.
So anytime you see those purple balls, that's the enemy that's been defeated. The blue enemies drop 3, the yellow enemies drop 4 at a time.
You want more? Still waiting.
See that bar on the left-hand corner there? That's basically the progress bar. And you are on a time limit on the Greater Rifts. The idea is to get through the level before the timer bar goes away. Otherwise, you get nowhere you want to be in the match. So that's a pylon right there. I'm pretty sure the pylons are crystals. And the shrines are kind of the obvious rooms. I could have that. And that's what the Nemesis Racers do. They bring out a champion. They love it. Yes. And that just helps you get through the whip faster. Obviously, the more wood you get, the faster you get through it. Cards.
Still waiting.
Man, I'm up to 5. And the Vengeance there. I think that's the highest I've ever been.
Not ready yet. Need more time. Still waiting.
And the Vengeance casts for whenever I run into the elite enemies, the blues and yellows. But if you ever get in a pickle and you just need that extra firepower, let it ride. I figure out. Also, the Shadow Power, cast that as much as you need to. There's no cooldown on it. You can cast it as much as you want. And that, with the cube ring, gives you that 60% damage reduction. So it's a real lifesaver, especially when you start getting into the higher G risks.
You want more?
The Rift Guardian has arrived.
Alrighty. Time to put the stomping on. The Bane of the Stricken jewel that I talked about earlier that increases my damage per attack, it also, when you get it to its max level, gives you a 25% damage multiplier against Rift bosses. So that's pretty cool. And since we completed in time, we get to talk to this chick, and whatever special gems that you're using at the time. I mean, you get to increase whatever you feel is best for your build here, which for me, since I do a lot of channeling, I'm trying to get that Taegir up. And then once that's done, we just gotta go back to town, rinse, repeat, guys. Real quick though, I didn't talk about my follower. So the follower can do things for you depending on what you have given for him. And I went with the Paladin, or the Templar, sorry, because he has a specific skill that increases your resource generation. So it gives me 1 hatred per second, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when it's, you know, procced with the 1.7 hatred per second I get from that weapon, I think that's pretty much it. Oh yes, the other thing that's going to help you with your resource reduction so that you can manage resource better is the highest level topaz that you can get. So this is a family royal, or whatever the highest royal gem is, but it's a topaz. You put that in your hat and it reduces your resource costs for everything by 12.5%. The other big thing on my follower is this S of Johan. It would probably work a little bit better if I was rocking the sorceress or the rogue, since they have ranged weapons and they can hit a lot faster than the Templar can. The big reason for using him is just the extra hatred per second. But the S of Johan, he has a % chance on any hit that he does to any of the enemies to pull in a group of them at a time, and if that happens and I hit my Rain of Vengeance, that freaking beast will come in and pretty much shatter a whole mob all by itself. But anyway, guys, that is my Nats build. I hope it was informative for you guys and you got some good information for it. It is tweakable. A lot of people like to use the Dawn ability in the cube because it reduces your cooldown of Vengeance by 65%, and you will basically stay in Vengeance mode like the whole time. You know what I mean? So it's definitely malleable. There are things you can do to it. This build that I have is probably weaker than some other builds might have it go, but I feel like the resource management is more important to me in that sense. But that's going to bring this video to a close. Appreciate you guys watching. Leave comments. You guys can help me out make the videos better. I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.